Hello and welcome to 1.3.2 Wired and Wireless Networks Protocols and Layers Lesson 2, and we're going to start looking at network protocols. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of protocols. We're going to look at some of the more common ones in this lesson and in the subsequent lessons to give you all the information that you need on all these wonderful acronyms.
Spill it! Where's your brother?
You'd better answer him, Lisa. He's a bad man. What are you laughing about?
You started off as the bad cop, and now you're the good one. You and Willie got mixed up about 10 minutes ago.
We did not. Now where's Bart? You better tell me.
Oh, you better tell him, lassie. I cannot control him when he gets like this.
Now you're the good cop.
What?
So computer standards are official definitions or rules that exist for various aspects of computing. For example, standards exist for operating systems, programming languages, communications protocols, hardware devices, and data formats. Some standards are set and agreed by official organizations, and others have become established by common use. So you've probably heard of a few of these, like HTML, USB, the universal serial bus that you plug everything into in your computer, Wi-Fi, all that sort of jazz. Hardware and software standards are very important as they allow different manufacturers to make components and programs that are compatible and will work with each other. Without standards, only hardware and software made by the same company could be used together. So just think about that. You have to have the computer and the Wi-Fi router made by the same company and have the web browser made by the same company. That would be crazy. That would be really bad for everyone. Luckily, however, a program or a product is likely to be more popular if it is widely compatible and can be used with a range of different systems. All this is particularly important when it comes to networks. Computers and software need to talk to each other on networks, even though the hardware and software is from a different variety of different competing companies. So we need businesses to agree on standards.
Professionals have standards. Be polite. Be efficient. Have a plan to kill everyone you meet.
Let's take a look at protocols, especially network protocols. A network protocol defines the rules for data transmission between devices on a network. That's a really good definition. If you're ever asked to define network protocols, that is the one to go for. A protocol allows devices to exchange data with one another as long as they're following the same set of rules. Network protocols will include details such as how to set up the connection, how to start and end a message transmission, how to deal with corrupted or missing data, how to format the data being sent, and much, much more. Networking is really, really complicated. I can't stress that enough.
Of course. It's so simple. Wait, no it's not. It's needlessly complicated.
We have to use lots of different protocols with many different functions every time we use the internet. In the context of this lesson, a standard is a formalized protocol accepted by most of the parties that implement it. Not all protocols become standards. Any business, any technology provider can have their own protocol, but unless lots of people decide to follow it, it never really becomes a standard. Standardization allows interoperability between systems. It means they can work together. But really good vocabulary there. In computer networking, protocols describe how this standardization will work. So the protocols that we need to study include DNS, HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, SMTP, POP, IMAP, and TCP/IP. That's quite a lot. Let's just do a few of them today, and then we'll do a few in the next lesson as well, and maybe a lesson after that as well. It's quite a lot of them. Simple one, DNS. We've looked at that before in some other lessons. The domain name system. Domain name system servers share the task of keeping track of the mappings of IP addresses to domain names across the internet. So as we should know, the human-readable URLs aren't really much good to the computer. Amazon.com here doesn't mean very much to the computer. In order to find the Amazon.com computer, it needs the IP address, in this case 72.21.215.90. DNS server allows you to take that human-readable web address like Amazon.com and then translates it, transfers it, looks it up, whatever you want to call it, until it gets to the right IP address, and that can send that back to your computer so that you can access the website. HTTP, the one we should all be familiar with, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This is the protocol used by the World Wide Web. HTTP defines how web browsers, clients, should request and how web servers should deliver resources such as HTML files. HTTPS, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, secure. This uses what is known as Secure Sockets Layer, SSL, or Transport Layer Security, TLS, the more modern version. This ensures that web data is encrypted before being sent out of the browser or the server to ensure the privacy and the integrity of the data being exchanged. So, for example, logging into a web account, checking your bank account online, or buying products and services online. You want to make sure nobody can eavesdrop and monitor and steal your data. So a couple of diagrams here just illustrating that fact. If we're using HTTPS, all the traffic between our client and the web server and vice versa is scrambled. So if anybody tries to intercept it, they can't decode it, they can't do anything with it, it's undecipherable for them. Whereas we send it plain text with HTTP, somebody could intercept it and read and make use of that data. FTP, File Transfer Protocol. This is a protocol used to transfer, upload and download, data between a client and a server on a computer network. So for example, the classic example of FTP is uploading the files for a website to a web server. Now this is an older technology. It's older than HTTP. This is what we used to transfer files across the internet before there was the World Wide Web. Because remember, the internet, the concept of linking computers together around the world, is much older than the World Wide Web, which is some software and web pages and things like that that run on top of the internet. So before we had HTTP, we could transfer files using FTP, and in some cases it's still useful, especially for the example here, uploading files from a website to a web server. Okay guys, that's quite a lot to cover. We'll do more protocols in the next lesson, but today, computers and network hardware and software are made by lots of different companies. We need them to agree to use standard protocols so our devices can communicate with each other around the world using lots of different hardware and software over a network. We looked at some different protocols today. DNS matches IP address to domain names. HTTP and HTTPS are the protocols used for requesting and sending web pages. The S, of course, stands for secure. That's the encrypted version. And FTP is an older protocol for transferring files on a client-server network model. Oh, I'll take a deep breath now because that's a lot to cover. I'll be back next week and we'll look at some more protocols. Good luck with your studies.